I was born in Belleville General Hospital. I was born to Thomas Percy Callahan and Mary Agnes Mahar. You know, they're quite Irish, as you might imagine from those names. My dad was a farmer, and he worked locally at a cement plant in Point Anne. My mom was a stay-at-home mom who raised 5 children, 4 boys and a girl. I guess your quintessential country Roman Catholic family, you know. Well, music was always a big part of our kind of family environment. My mom sang and played the piano, and so that was regular. And my dad sang a little bit, but danced, and so music was always a big part of it. There was the choir in church. I sang as a soprano in the choir, at St. Charles Borromeo in Reid, Ontario, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. But I suppose the person who first got me started in what you might call popular music would have been Mike Rivers, who was my sister's husband. So he played in a band. He was a singer, guitar player, and he sang and was playing in bands, around the area. So it was kind of like having a celebrity, in our family. And so he taught me how to play guitar, got started playing guitar through him. And then we sang together, and then ultimately we ended up playing in a band together. And so there was music in my life from a lot of different directions, but as long as I can remember, I've always loved to sing. When I was in the band, I played in the band for about 11 years. I played drums at that point, actually, and sang. There was 3 of us that sang, my brother-in-law, my brother, and I. We had various other components along the way, and we all sang, and it was all covers, and we had a fairly good following. We used to play almost every weekend there, whenever we wanted to. It was very busy. I would sing, the Beatles and Creedence Clearwater and the Bee Gees and stuff like that, which was all popular at the time. And my brother, he sang Johnny Cash and Jim Reeves, and my brother-in-law did a variety of things. Mike would have done Buddy Holly and Buck Owens, and so we had a spectrum of, we called it sort of country rock, and that was kind of how we would classified our band at the time. Yeah.
What was the first tune that you ever learned?
I can remember it very well. It was a song. What was the name of it though? Letter Edged in Black. I was standing by my window yesterday morning without a thought of worry or of care.
When I saw the postman coming up the pathway with such a happy face and a jolly air.
It's the story of the guy who brings the letter edged in black, which is the letter that his mother has died. That's the first song I learned. Yeah. I remember there was a band, the McWilliamses, and I really would like to give a nod to them. Harry McWilliams, and he had a number of children. They were neighbors, and they had the band called the McWilliamses, and they played, at Reid, at the parish hall, and around in the area, probably Marysville and probably Belleville as well. And Gerald McWilliams, and it was a true family band. And Gerald McWilliams was the young teenage heartthrob who would sing, Teen Angel, and it was great memories. And they were the band. It was Harry McWilliams that loaned me the first set of drums, because the reason I played drums was because we didn't need another guitar player. That's always the way that works, right? So, he said, well, yeah, I got a set of drums here, you can try them out. So, and that was kind of how that got started. I actually learned how to play guitar before I played the drums. And I don't even think of myself as a drummer, but I played drums for like 11 years or something, and I just learned it on the fly. It was, so I always played guitar while I was playing drums too, and I would do the odd song, maybe in the band on the guitar as well. So I kept the guitar up. I worked on the guitar, along as well as playing in the band. So I kind of think of myself more as a singer who accompanies himself on guitar. Although I've always worked on guitar, and of course now I'm spending more time working on guitar. But that's always how. So I thought it. So I think I was maybe 10 or 11 when I first learned how to play. Learn the majors and the minors and started to accompany myself as a singer. We had an itinerant music teacher, Mr. Kidd was his name. I would love to know I'm sure he's long gone now, but we had an itinerant music teacher who would come in one day a week in an afternoon. I think it was Friday afternoons maybe. And he taught us harmony. And so anyway, he would help us work on the choir. And so we would do the music class. And I think I was maybe grade 4, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, so on. And I loved that class. I just loved it. And he would come in with his pitch pipe, and he'd have the altos and the sopranos, and he was just split up, and we would sing harmony. We learned how to sing round songs, and we learned the scale, and we learned a small repertoire of songs. And so it was about singing. I was like, I was in heaven. I just loved it. And so, yeah, and then at church, there was the choir. We had a neighbor was the organist, Helen Callahan, who just recently passed away, as a matter of fact. And I talked to her about how important those moments were. She was always very cool. She was always so supportive, in singing. We'd have the music in front of us. And, of course, we were doing a bit of sight reading, note reading as well. So we were learning. But, of course, as kids, you don't really know you're learning. And it's only now as an adult I look back at that and I go, wow, there was a lot of stuff that I actually learned from that experience. And, and as a matter of fact, I'm sitting in with the choir now here, the Loyalist Choir, which is learning, a lot more stuff with that. So, it goes full circle, right? Goes around, comes around. Yeah.
Rumor has it that you once tried to set up a coffee house at Quinte Secondary.
Yes, there was a failed attempt. I don't remember the principal's name very well, but it started with H and it ended with men. We did, and it was a grade 10 thing, and I was playing, Kansas City or something, on the guitar, and I was doing that little blues shuffle, and I was looking for a place to play it, and so there was a number of students who were very, kind of inclined, and we had it all set up. We thought we had approval, and then, the afternoon of the so-called coffee house, it was like, pull the plug. No coffee house going on here. So I don't really know why that happened. We just sort of attributed it to, I guess we didn't get permission or something. And I mean, we didn't have anything, underhanded in mind. We were just going to play some music and try to have some fun, but so, coffee houses, again, they were sort of thought of as that counterculture kind of thing a little bit, and we did some stuff as part of assemblies later on, but it's funny, the whole high school experience, and I'm teaching a course now here at the college called Music as an Agent of Change, and starting to think about a lot of these things, and I'm remembering my high school days when I played in this country rock band, but my friends were all sort of the hippies, and so it was kind of like there was two different genres of community that I was interacting with, but I had to be cool, and I had to be, part of both, but I didn't want to exclude either, right? And finding your place. Music was a way, and the coffee house was what I identified most comfortably with. I just felt, people sitting around and, listening to music, like Joni Mitchell and Gordon Lightfoot, and those are the people that affected my thinking at that time. And Murray McLaughlin, it may have been a little early for Murray McLaughlin, but that was the kind of music that I was going, yeah, this is cool stuff. People would like to listen to this, Mm-hmm. I also, of course, liked rock and roll, and I certainly enjoyed all of that. But I always gravitated towards a sort of singer-songwriter genre, Part of this class, we're looking at musical structure and whatnot to a limited extent, really. But, melody, you can have isolated notes, but no, that doesn't necessarily make music, right? You've got to have the sequence that kind of relate to each other and make you feel a certain way when they're delivered at a particular cadence, right? The course is called Music as an Agent of Change, so how it affects us as individuals and how it helps to shape our attitudes towards, communities, politics, religion, society, decision-making, all that kind of stuff, how we interact. Robbie Robertson just released a book this year. It was called Legends, Icons, and something or others. It's a 2 CD set, and he's got 27 musicians that he claims have changed the world. And he goes back to... I'm not sure how far he goes back, quite honestly, in terms of years, but it's certainly the 40s, So I'm going to impose these 27 artists on the students because I just think, 2-hour class, you're going to listen to a snippet of each of these people just to get a sense of some of the progression, right? So So I think the 40s, it was a big question for me because I'm going, okay, wow, there's emancipation, there's certainly the whole black movement, but war, the music around war and religion and family, there's such a big, big topic. But, I have 2 hours a week and it's, one semester course. So I'm going to kind of hit the highlights, I mean, you look at people, you look at specific people, and, Christopherson was not on his list, but I mean, you tend to go, okay, well, who's not on this list and why are they not on this list? That becomes a big question, but certainly Elvis Presley and Bob Dylan and the Beatles, but the Stones aren't on there, but, Aretha Franklin is, but, so you start to question, but anyway, you have to make a decision. You only got so many pages, but, so I was starting it off around the 40s, but, lots of change between, 50s, 60s, 70s. I think music, I don't know, John, you probably know this certainly better than I do. As a musician, you sort of get, in a certain way, you're in a certain place musically, but you don't really tend to look at it in the broad scope. But I would say there was probably more change in the 50s, 60s, and 70s than there was from the 80s to now. But I don't know. I'm just speculating there. But in terms of and again, of course, the technology has played such a big role in all of this, right? I mean, when I was a kid, and I said this to my son, I said, these songs are the soundtrack of my growing up, but we listened to certain radio stations, right? And that, and the genre of radio station is the thing that influenced the music that you listen to. That's not as big an influence today, where you've got in his palette, for example, he's 26, he's got a very broad palette, Yo-Yo Ma to Eminem kind of thing, right? And it's the nature of technology that makes all of that accessible to him. It's not being fed, it's not being pushed. Like, radio had that big place in shaping musical taste, I think. But today it's different, right?